What's up, everybody? It's only Civo, and I'm back again for another video. Before I start this video, I would like to say I thank God for being here. I thank God for life, health, and strength. I thank God that He let us see a new day that we've never seen before. The title of this video is going to be called Failure to Success. What I'm going to basically be talking about is a story that I had of my own and where it's brought me to, and the faith that I kept, and I never had negativity in the picture, because the type of things that you go through in life when you're in failure, it can make you want to do more negative things based off you listening to the enemy. It's smart to stay strong and just look at the bright side of things during a hard situation when you're in the failures. We're going to talk about the failure first, and then we're going to talk about the success, because there's always light at the end of every tunnel. Around middle school, I was retained. After my retention had happened, a lot of my friends were laughing at me, and they took the opportunity to talk about me, and those type of things didn't bother me, and that was my failure. And people were laughing at me. They thought it would break me, but in reality, I use it as motivation. In all honesty, failure can change you. In that moment that I failed, I remember the first 2 weeks of school, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wasn't talking to anybody. I was just mad. But how could I be mad when I did it to myself? A part of my failure, I learned that it's not only what you go through, it's how you go through it. Where's your faith throughout this process? Where's that hope that you got? Where's that hope? Where's your hope? Where's your faith? Where's your trust in God? Through my failure, it made me think, and I told myself, I said, do I want to keep going through school? And then I started picturing myself outside of school. I said, no, I can't do this right now. I got to keep on going. The teacher, the principal that had failed me and stuff like that, I'm not going to hold any, I never had resentment towards them. In fact, I actually called them later down the years. I called them in 2024, and I called her and I was telling her about everything that's happening now, and that everything that had happened then, I'm glad that it happened because it changed my mindset forever. So failure, there's success in failure. So this is the failure. I kept on pushing. I kept on grinding. I told myself, I said, I got to get out. I got to complete this. Because if not, people going to laugh at me. When you go through things in life, you should never think about what somebody else thinks about your situation, because people are going to judge you regardless of what you go through. You want to make yourself proud, so when you look back a few years, you're going to say, wow, I'm glad that I was on the path that I was on because it brought me here. God will put you on a path when it gets lonely. You lose friends. Everybody turn their back on you. How are you going to take failure? Are you going to take failure and bring it into a negative aspect of your life? Are you going to start blaming others? Are you going to start, getting mad at people? No. I thought I failed 8th grade. I graduated middle school and stuff like that, and got into high school. And then everybody that had seen me in high school, it's like everybody that I had known who said what, but I didn't hold resentment again. I didn't have resentment. I said, wow, well, now I know how to move around these people, because I thought they were my friends. In fact, one of them was one of my closest friends. And I said, wow, he was a part of that number of people that was laughing at me. But it's okay. When people laugh at you in life, all you have to do is stay consistent. Stay consistent in what you do, so then you have the last laugh. It's very important to keep your faith through hard situations. Don't look at the negative through situations, and just be the best version of yourself that you could be with the help of God. Once I got into high school, I had no C's, no D's, no F's. I had straight A's and B's. When I got in high school, I started playing sports more. I took sports more serious. As I started taking sports more serious, I was training in the off season, working out and stuff like that. Now, behind closed doors, things were going on in my life. My father was in and out of the nursing home, and my family couldn't make enough income, and it was hard for us to survive, really. And there was nights I didn't eat. There was nights that I couldn't sleep. There was nights that I went to school with no food in my system. The only food I relied on was the school food. I took that situation and I said, you know what? I gotta strive off this. I'm where I'm at. I'm where I should have been before. I'm in high school. Now I got to take a different approach. So I started taking it more serious, and I was joking around still. I was, still being a clown and whatnot. But I still had faith in God through all of that time. That whole time, I still had faith in God. I never doubted God that whole time. I was still praying, but I wasn't praying as consistent as I was now, because I was still in the world in that moment. God will bring you at a low point in your life and test your faith and see, what are you going to do throughout this situation? How are you going to handle it? Are you going to keep your eyes on Him, or do what the world was doing? I was going to the parties, doing what a worldly man would be doing. That's what I was doing. I'm glad that I went through what I went through. Now the success started creeping in. Basketball, I started getting all academic and stuff like that, and one of the greater players on the team and stuff like that. And God kept me humble through the whole time. I looked at a picture and I said, you know what? Well, where do I want to go from here? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go after high school? Majority of the number, I think there was a certain percent that go on to play college sports, and a certain number that even went on to college in general. But I said, I want to take basketball more serious. Now, to my financial situation, I couldn't. I'll say the school that I had interest in me and stuff like that. NJIT had interest in me. The only issue was the tuition of the price or whatever that it was, the price of the tuition. I had to pay a certain amount each semester that I couldn't afford. So I said, I can't commit to this knowing that something might happen. So I went on to play Division III. It didn't turn out my favor either, but I'm glad that I grew, and I'm glad that I went to situations. I don't have no resentment towards the coaches, no players, nothing. I'm just glad that I went through what I went through with the coaches that I went through with. In fact, I went to a game not too long ago. I think it was in January. I went to a game, my friend's senior night. Through that trial, I never had my head down. In fact, I kept my head high and I was confident and I kept going through what I had to go through. College, I also only have A's and B's. Been on the dean's list 4 or 5 times. Had 4.0 GPA 3 different times. So this is what I'm trying to say. I didn't do any of this on my own. God gets all the glory for this. In a time of situation where you're failing, or you can consider it failure, keep your mind on Jesus through that storm. You have to have the faith. You have to believe. You need to know that God will help you if you call on him. So high school is the worldly. College, I got more spiritual, focused on God. Through all my trials and tribulations, I learned one thing. Believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. That's the mindset that I carry. Believe in yourself because nobody else will. You gotta understand, friends ain't gonna follow the same path you following. Friends ain't gonna go to places that you go. They gonna actually invite you to the places that you shouldn't be going. And by the way, this is me talking about a Christian perspective. Christians will suffer. Jesus told us we will suffer for his name's sake. We'll be hated for his name's sake. We have to have faith. We have to keep pushing through the storm. Notice the story that I'm telling you. The story went from failure to success. I failed at first, and it drew me to think a lot of things, but I kept my head on straight. Success started coming, back to back to back to back to back, and I thank God through it all. Don't look at the negative side of things during a negative side of things. Everything you go through, God will help you, and he will help you overcome any challenge that you've been through. I just hope that this video is motivational to anybody, to let them know that it's not your battle to fight. It's not your battle to fight. It's not your situation to handle. God will handle it for you. God is good. God is great. God is amazing. And he's responsible for our being. So I thank God for seeing this day. I thank God for life, health, and strength. I will always give God all the praise, glory, and honor in his name. It's only Civo. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.